As a junk journaler, have you noticed the change in Amazon's packaging lately? I've been a customer of Amazon's for many years, and I've seen different kinds of packaging come and go. And there was a certain kind of mailer that was pretty popular for junk journaling because it was made out of paper and a little squishy and could be used very nicely for a cover. In fact, I've made a couple covers out of this kind of mailer before. The one thing that I didn't like as a customer, as a consumer of packaging, was that if you accidentally tore into it, you got this weird, gunky white stuff that can flake off and is really gross, in my opinion. So I didn't really like that flaky white stuff, but as long as you didn't break the seal, it was pretty good for purposes of turning into a junk journal cover or some other squishy junk journal item. But they have moved on from this packaging, for which we've seen lots of different projects made out of, into this new packaging, which is basically one big old sack. So this is basically a fairly thick craft paper that they can expand with this bottom section here, and then they could decide how far they want to fold this. So it could be that you've got some item in here that fills the whole thing, or if it's smaller, then you could fold it over and glue it on so that it's a smaller bag, essentially. This paper is not bad. It is pretty sturdy craft paper, and of course we all like craft paper here, and at least like vintage junk journaling projects. So there's a lot of possibility to be using this material, but as a journal cover, it doesn't have the squish factor. And also they're kind of an inconvenient size, since they've got this thing that is could expand to fit a large volume. It's really pretty big for our purposes. So this smaller mailer here, it's about 14 inches by 17 inches, with a flap closed, I believe. And then I've got this other larger mailer that is basically the same design, but larger. And this guy here is a whole 16 by 20 inches. And so these are quite large, and much larger than the usual kind of journal that we're journaling in and making in junk journal land. However, since this is what we've got, and I'm not seeing much of this coming into my house lately, despite the many Amazon packages I've got, I guess I'm going to try to see if I can turn these into some junk journal covers and see how well they might work out. So pretty sure I can make them. I think it'll just be a matter of whether or not I like the form factor, if it was worth the effort in using this as a journal cover in actual use. So I'm taking this. My thought was I would fold it in half this way and then this way to make my journal. So this one would be 7 by 7.5. And in this case, I kind of want to keep these stickers. I may regret that later. And you can see here that this corner is rounded off here. So I've got a choice of whether or not I want to round that off or if I want to keep it as is. Oops, my light is making noises. Okay, so I think that first order of business, I'm pretty sure I want to glue this down. The fact that this is torn is kind of, something that needs to be dealt with. It doesn't have the same integrity. It could be intentional, desirable aesthetic point, depending on what you're going for. But it is something that needs some specific consideration at any rate. So here I'm thinking it would be nice if I could actually have like huge pockets going across there. So maybe I'll leave the corners. I might still round those outside corners. I'm not quite sure yet, but I think I'm going to glue this down so that I don't have to worry about accidentally tucking stuff into here. All right. And I was actually thinking that maybe in order to give this cover a little more stability, I might glue down some, thin cardstock here. My thought was the spine might be potentially pretty thick here, so I'm just going to bring that over to the edge. And maybe this could be like a, what do you call this? Jelly roll or gel pen kind of style where I've got like dark pages on the inside. I think that might be fun. So I'm just going to glue these down. And see where this goes from here. Oops. Yeah, one of the things that I'm going to have to keep dealing with is the fact that this bag doesn't want to stay folded. So I might work on, trying to soften up that spine, maybe round it a bit. And yeah, it just keeps on trying to open up like that, which is hopefully something I can address once I've got the journal pages inside. So I think what I'm going to do is try to use these as junk journals and see how well the covers hold up, or, well, some kind of arty journal. See if I like using these covers, if I have other issues that I want to account for. Like, it's a little lumpy because the top here has multiple layers that doesn't exist below here. So in the future, I might want to consider, doing something else to balance it out, whether it's cutting off the excess or flattening out or something like that. So I'm going to leave that to dry. Let's turn to this big guy here. So in this case, I was thinking I would fold it over and then have the whole flap come over the top here. So that kind of obscures some of this difference in the round edge versus the straight portion there. And then I don't think I want to have a pocket where you're going all the way in there. Maybe it'll be more like in here potentially. So I don't know if I'm going to want pockets in the future. We're just going to see if this is going to work for me in this test run. Oops. That was not what I wanted to do here. All right. I just wanted to seal that a little bit so that I'm not accidentally dropping things in there while using the pocket. And then here, similarly, we've got this bottom of the sack here. And then finally, we've got this flap. When you get your own Amazon packages, this is not, I mean, it can definitely tear, as you saw in my last sack that I just glued down, but you can be careful and prevent, I'd say, 90% of them from tearing with some care. So here, I may need a little, first I need a little more glue, and then I may want some washi tape to help keep this closed, because what I want to do actually is to put on a little layer of paint on the outside. So do I have any washi I don't like? All right, here's a washi I don't particularly like. So if I had more time and I wanted to sit around and wait for this glue to work, I might clamp this down and put it under something heavy. But in this case, I just want something flat to keep it in place while I keep working on the other side. So here we are. We've got 2 potential big pockets in here. Now if I wanted to flip this over, I was thinking I got a lot of this paint here, which is like a, yeah, the color is patina. It's a chalk paint. And then I'm gonna try using the credit card method of spreading out glue, seeing how well this works. I've seen Darcy Sanders do this a lot, so hopefully I'll be able to manage. I'm not worried about sealing the paper because I think this is a decent surface to be working on. So I'm not using gesso here. I'm just going straight in with this paint. And I just wanted to get a little coverage on here so I had like a background to work on as I contemplate what kind of other decorations I might want to have on here. So I'm not going for full coverage. I kind of like having some of this writing shine through so you can tell that it's, you know, what packaging this is. And I guess I'll have to review the video and see if the sound is really terrible. I apologize if it is. So might go around the edges with a little more. I wasn't really intending to have like a frame effect there. It was just the way it came out. And maybe I spread it too evenly on the inside. All right, well, I think I'm going to let this glue dry, the glue and the paint dry here, and I will see, I'll share with you in future videos what kind of decoration I'm going to plan to do on this, and then this is going to be filled with some, yeah, I'm going to have to figure out how to fill these pages, because since this is going to be, I believe this is 14 wide. No, this is 16 wide. So I don't have a whole lot of papers that are 16 wide. No, that is something to consider. And I got to figure out what kind of papers I want to put in here, as well as like what kind of theme I want to have on the outside, and if I want to have something going on the inside here to deal with the fact that the top here is thicker than the bottom, etc. So thanks for watching.